and welcome to another bonus special episode of Zapped to the Past. Another episode where we go off-piste. Another episode where we go where Zap feared to tread. Games that they never looked at. This is a special episode coming out just before Christmas. As we sort of take a break between February and March 1991, we thought we'd have a look at some weird little games. Some strange games. These are odd games, Graham. These are a bunch of weird little things.
Yes, they are. They're the ones that they didn't get, the ones that never got sent, the games that they didn't see, the absent games, the missing games, the missing.
They are. We've got 4 more this week. We just like to do these because I think they're quite fun to do. And sort of, I know our remit was games that Zap covered, but it's nice to look at some other little bits and bobs when we find them. There are other games we'll do. We're going to do more of these because I'm quite enjoying doing these ones. And there's also those ones I mentioned. What was the Ninja Massacre, the Lost Ninja? We've got to do them just because. We've got to do them just because. So this is another one of those special little episodes where we're going to look at 4 more games that Zap forgot. And so if you want to support us before Christmas, it is Christmas coming up. We know money's tight and everything like that. But if you can and you want to sort of help us out, then we have a Patreon. That Patreon is patreon.com/Zap to the Past. Price of less than a pint of beer, price of a sandwich, a meal deal, whatever, a Starbucks, and you can get in on this. You'll get bonus episodes. You get bonus episodes. You'll get the early episodes. You'll get the episodes ad-free. Join our Discord. Chat along with us. High score, weekly challenges, all that kind of thing. Get to participate in our end-of-year stuff and ask the podcast as well. I think it's a bit worth it. And also as well, show your appreciation of the podcast itself. It's all cool.
Absolutely.
There's a Ko-fi as well, ko-fi.com/Zap to the Past. If you wish to donate anything there, again, all greatly received. Or just come and have a chat on the socials. I hate using that term, but there you go. It's easier than listing them all off. You know what I mean. On that note, should we get into some of these games that Zap forgot, Graham?
Let's go for it.
Let's do it. Let's get into our very first game this week. Okay, so the first of our games that were missed by Zap is Force 7. Okay, so it's no wonder that they missed this. Only actually came out in the US, which is weird for the C64 and the Apple II. It's a bit of a surprise because underneath some basic visuals, there's a pretty interesting and solid game here. At least that's what I think anyway. And it's unusual that it didn't get released. It's 1987 into the UK because it was by Datasoft. And you may remember Datasoft from games like Bruce Lee, Zorro, Conan, The Goonies, so on. So it's not like their games never made it out of the US. Odd one that this never did. It was made by Ken and Sean Grant, who you may also remember from our last games that Zap forgot. Because they did Bump Set Spike. And this couldn't be less like that game if it tried, though.
No, really good.
This is weird. The music here was by Rob Cecchini, and he did one other game, and that was Mainframe, another game not looked at by Zap. So anyway, Force 7, there is a story to this, and this I'll just read off the back of the box. It goes like this. You command Force 7, a crack special forces unit. You've been sent to the planet Karis on a perilous mercy mission. Rescue the Earth survivors, if any. The situation. All communications from Karis were silenced months ago. The last report said the colonists were overrun by invaders. If any Earthlings were still alive, they were holed up in the energy fabrication plant. The enemy, a race of rugged, powerful, and relentless beasts that enjoy the finer things, like humans. The dilemma. Because of an accident on your ship, all but one life support suit has been damaged. This means that, though your arsenal includes flamethrowers, heavy machine guns, grenade launchers, and hydro guns, only one commando can transport to Karis at a time to use these weapons. You must choose carefully which soldier will confront the aliens and when. Each member of the force fights alone, facing fatigue, hunger, strange environs, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, and a deadly and a numberless enemy.
Deadly.
The game loads. It's got a nice title screen showing an evil-looking alien-like creature. And this gives you some indication of what to expect from this. Because this game, it's 1 part Gauntlet, 1 part Into the Eagle's Nest, which is obviously a Gauntlet, and 1 part Aliens. And maybe a little bit of Paradroid in there somewhere along the way. If you put all those in a mixing jug, you shape it up, voila, Force 7. That's what you get. That doesn't mean it's bad, though, because this game has some really nice ideas about it. So the game starts immediately, just starts.
It does
and I tried multiple versions of it. It just starts. We're in a corner of one of the floors of Karis. It's a bit on the bright side, and it doesn't give a great first impression. The floors are grey, the walls are yellow, and outside is some kind of odd red and grey lattice. It's a weird looking game, this. Even for 1987, it doesn't look the best. Your main character's not the best. It's just a weird looking sort of top-down sprite. And there's loads of single colour stuff on the floor near where you start. You don't know what anything is. It's just stuff on the floor. You're like, what is any of this? So these visuals for the game take up the top 3/4 or so of the screen. The UI is at the bottom, and there's a fair bit of information on that bottom panel. So it shows your score, the number of humans left on the current level and how many you have rescued, the character you are currently playing, their health and fatigue levels, and then under this, how many normal rounds of ammo they have, how many grenade rounds, and how many flame rounds they have. On the right of all this, there's another bit to the UI, which is the motion tracker. See what I said about aliens? And this lets you know when an alien leader is about to attack. And it says in the instructions, actually, yeah, we said an alien leader because there's loads of them. Right, okay, great. The controls are fairly standard. Plays out like it's top-down gauntlet style. 8-way movement, fire to shoot your primary weapon. If you have grenades, then you press space to launch those. Everything else is automatic. It's kind of walking stuff or stuff like that. The stuff that's on the floor near to you, there's like white lines, that's ammo. So you can just walk over that, and if you're low on ammo, you can go pick that up. It'll disappear, but you can go get that. You can also shoot it as well, so be careful. There's also some health, I think, or some plants, something which can restore your fatigue, and so on. And wandering over these, it just automatically picks them up. If you're full, it won't pick them up. So you don't have to worry about picking up stuff you can't use. As you wander about, like, it's kind of more of the sort. Whereas Into the Eagle's Nest and Gauntlet were straight top down, this is kind of at a slight bit of an angle. So you're kind of like a 3D angle. It's not too much, something like about sort of 80, 75 degrees sort of thing. So you kind of got an angle so you can see sort of the inside of walls and things like that. And so as you walk around, you can see on some of the yellow walls, there are doors. Okay, and these are grey. And they open as soon as you go near them. And there's also computer terminals that are dotted about. There's also something called a BU, which is like a big gun as well. And these computer terminals, if your character can use them, they let you teleport from level to level or actually within the same level as well. And there are 7 levels in total to this game. Okay, so there's quite a bit to this game. So on top of this, right, so this looks, when you first start it, you wander around, you shoot stuff. You've got I think you've got flame rounds. It's your flamethrower at first. And one of the good things about this is your flamethrower, when you shoot, with the aliens sort of coming at you, it hits the first one, but then kind of sets itself on fire. So it leaves fire on the floor. If other aliens go into that, they die. That's quite a nice touch because that's good. But you've got 7 characters that you can choose from, and you can swap between these on the fly as often as you like by pressing F1. This pauses the game, and then you just select who you want. And the thing is that each of these characters has unique abilities, and these are all listed in the instructions. So character 1 is the captain. This is you. Your weapon is the flamethrower, and your expertise is mission commander, and you can read blueprints. That means you can use the sort of terminals that are dotted about to the teleport. Number 2 is Lieutenant Paddy Smith. They have a flamethrower, and they're a computer expert, so they again can use the blueprint readers. Number 3 is Sergeant William Reese. He has a submachine gun and a grenade launcher. His expertise is in tactical weapons, so he can pick up the sentry guns, which you can find. And he's extremely quick combat reflexes, so he moves faster. Number 4, Private Sly Johnson. Again, submachine gun and a grenade launcher, and he can use the battle units as well. Again, the turrets. Number 5, Private Kentucky Savage. He has a submachine gun and a grenade launcher and can use the battle unit operators. So those two can use the battle units. Number 6 is Private Sarah O'Connor. She's got an automatic H2O dispenser unit. It's like a water gun, and she's the squadron scientist, so she's needed for certain things. Private Marissa Brown is number 7. She has no weapon, but she has high intensity welding expert and can also read the terminals. So they've all got different abilities. And the instructions, again, go into some detail about how all this works. And I'll just read from the instructions because this is quite interesting. So it says it's the strategy part. It's crucial to keep as many members of your crew alive as possible. If you lose Private O'Connor, there's no way to stop the lava monsters because she's the only one with the water gun, and these lava monsters are impervious to your normal bullets and grenade. If Private Brown dies, there's no one to weld the acid holes. Lose Privates Johnson and Savage, you can't use the battle units. If the Captain, Lieutenant Smith, and Private Brown, all 3 meet their demise, your crew is stuck forever on one level because these are the only crewmen who can operate the teleportation computer. Best way to keep your crew alive is to use the F1 key often. For example, you can teleport to a new level using Private Brown. She can use the teleporter but has no weapons. You know you're probably going to encounter a few alien soldiers right away, so you press F1 and switch to Sergeant Reese, who has a machine gun and quick reflexes, thus saving Private Brown for future teleporting and welding services. When battling alien soldiers, keep as much distance as possible between them and you. They march in formation. They move like the soldiers do in Into the Eagle's Nest. That's kind of where the similarity comes. So they march in formation, so you can usually just wipe out huge numbers of them by just standing in one spot and shooting as they approach. The best strategy here is to stand in an open doorway and shoot into the room. That's true, but there are spawners, which you need to get into and destroy. And you can only destroy the spawners with a grenade. So you need one of your grenade launchers to get to the spawner to stop the aliens spawning. If you enter a room where a beating heart is producing alien soldiers, fight your way to the heart and destroy it as quickly as possible. long as the heart beats, you'll never clear the room of aliens. When it does explode, though, it creates an acid hole. And if you fall into the acid hole, you die. So you need to get the welder, Private Brown, you need to get her to the holes to weld them shut. So you have this kind of loop. Watch your motion detector to keep track of where the alien leaders are. If one attacks, kill them immediately or run. The most efficient escape is to jump into a teleportation box and just warp off the level. So what this all means is not just to run and gun and get to the exit. There's quite a bit to this. You need to plan who is going into the level, what they need to do before switching to someone else. For example, right at the start, you'd land with your captain. Just around the first corner is a room full of aliens and a pod that one of these beaten hearts that gestates and spawns endless aliens. Normal bullets will kill the aliens, but not the spawner. So you need to bring in either Johnson or Savage, who have a grenade launcher. Press space, blow it up, then you can go into the room, make it to the spawner, take that out with the grenades. This leaves an acid hole on the floor, which is instant death, so you switch to Johnson, who has the welder, walk up to it and weld it so that it becomes safe. That's this loop. And then Johnson can use the teleporter, which is right next to it. You can teleport to elsewhere on that level or to a different level and progress like that. So if she teleports to another area of the ship, this may be crawling with aliens, so you would then switch back to someone with a weapon, so on and so forth. The aliens that are crawling around the ship can be killed by normal weapons, except for the lava monsters, as I said. They can only be killed by O'Connor and a H2O dispenser, but there are also alien leaders, as noted. They pop up out of the ground and require multiple hits to kill. You also need to be careful around humans. They're kind of these animated spread-eagled figures, like the sort of two. Imagine, I think this is supposed to be like the people in Aliens who are sort of up in the walls and stuff. I think it's supposed to be, it's like that. They've been cocooned probably.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of walk around and rescue him. But stray bullets, as we saw in Into the Eagle's Nest when you blew stuff up, stray bullets hit things, and so a stray bullet will kill them. You don't want to. You want to. Obviously, the target is to rescue them all. You can also shoot furniture, other stuff. You can blow up ammo, and health can also be shot. You need to take your time with how you approach each situation. You can use the teleporter to teleport to anywhere on the 7 levels. This is really nice. You can, any room, any part, you just whip around it. And so the way to approach this game is completely up to you. You kind of got to figure out your own strategy. The music itself is a kind of a beat. It's not brilliant, but it's atmospheric. You can turn it off with F7. Careful though, because F8 restarts the game. Just a heads up and a warning if you're playing on a modern keyboard. Because on the C64, you'd have to press Shift F7. Your finger can slip and you'd be like, no. So as your characters move around the ship, they get fatigued. So you need to let them rest. And like a line of Z's, like the sleeper will come out from about them to let them know that they are resting. This restores your fatigue. Because you need to do this as they become fatigued, they become slower, less efficient. And health will be lost through fatigue and contact with aliens. And once you run out of health, health cannot be recovered. You can't get it back. The aim of the game is to rescue all the people. If you do so, you get a stat screen to show you how well you did. If you fail, you get another stat screen as well if everyone dies. Each level has a different color scheme and a different approach needed with different aliens, different stuff going on, teleporting around who you're going to use. So going in with all guns blazing, you'll soon see you dead. You'll be dead. This is a surprisingly good game. It doesn't sell itself at first, but once you start to open this up and you start to think about it, this is really quite interesting. It's open in how you approach it. The different abilities of the characters show you that you need to think about your next move at all times. It may not look like much. The sounds are basic. In the words of the Millennium Falcon, it may not look like much, but it's got it where it counts. There's a solid action strategy game here that builds on Gauntlet and Aliens, even brings in a bit of Paradroid when you can access the terminals and sort of zoom about, like losing the lift and stuff. And you sort of there's that little bit of Paradroid in there as well. And where you can approach this in your own way, like in Paradroid, you can move from level to level, attacking what droid you want. Here, again, you've got that open way to sort of approach this game. Bit of a find this, I think. I'm not quite sure how I found it. I was just looking around and found this one. I thought, we'll give this a look. And more people should give this a look. I don't know if it's well known or not. A lot of the reviews on Lemon say it's really, really good. It's got an average score of just under 8 on Lemon. And I would certainly put this in the 80s if I'd played this. Maybe even a Sizzler, because I think the depth of the game is really good despite the visual underselling of it. It doesn't look great at first, but there's a really solid, enjoyable game here underneath it. Clever game that belies its look. Go play it. Really good, this. I think there's a unusual and sort of good strategic game to get your teeth into, to try and work your way through all the levels and try and keep all your soldiers alive. Quite the challenge. I really enjoyed it. What did you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not much more to add to the gameplay idea. What a neat little game this was. It reminded me of a lot of other games as well. There's a bit of Gauntlet in there, isn't there? Things like that. Yeah. Also reminded me of the 8-Bit Guys game, Petsky Robots. Actually, that looks very similar to that. But I quite liked it. I liked the wandering around. It was a game I felt I could kind of sort of get into. It's quite playable. I mean, maybe it didn't look exactly amazing, but that we more than made up for that in kind of its approachability. I was very quickly running around. It almost gave me a quasi Paradroid vibe, and that's just because I'm kind of in a big expansive space.
Yeah.
But I like the way you could teleport and you could go to the big computer. It did confuse me at the start because I'm not exactly sure what the hell I was doing, but because you are straight in. It's like in, and you go, off you go. I'm like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
But I liked the way it played. The odds were good. When you went to the rooms and there's other big aliens in there, and it's, I liked that. Made me think why Gauntlet wasn't like this. I mean, I know it's not the same thing, but I quite like the kind of odd blend. It's almost like a sort of a multi-directional Mission Impossible variant in a weird way, but with hints of Paradroid sort of scaling. And it's a little odd game, isn't it? But quite good fun to play. Lots of information on the screen and all those different characters you can roll in and out of. I mean, goodness me. I mean, there's a lot there. It doesn't look like it when you first look at it. Mm-hmm. You look at it instinctively, you look at it and go, but you have to get into it. And when you do, it's actually pretty rewarding. There's a lot to it.
And it's good that you can, like, at any point, you just press F1 and you can swap characters like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or when you go to the level, the teleporter, you've got a little square that you move around the map and you can just teleport to anywhere on any level. There's nothing stopping you apart from the fact that you get loads of aliens and they'll kill you. So you have to sort of plan it.
Running into the rooms, finding the different weapons and the food and things like that. There's little hints of other games, but they've taken the good bits of those games. And I really enjoyed it. And the playable nature of the game was assisted greatly by the music in it, which kind of drives on the pace. There's a good pace to that music. It's quite interesting. So it's an interesting title. Baffles me that it was never released in the UK. It would have been a big hit. Maybe that's why they didn't release it. Or at least it certainly wasn't one that was going to get a lot of attention. But I liked the way it controlled. It was nice and straightforward. I liked the fact that when you're surrounded by aliens and you've got, you've got limited weaponry when you've got the machine gun or whatever. But at the same time, the aliens are slow enough for you to run away from and then shoot the odd one here and there and sort of work your way around.
Yeah.
Unlike Gauntlet, where you're surrounded and you're just losing health instantly, this actually gives you a chance to sort of get away a little bit and think about things.
Yeah.
It's a really good little game. I'd recommend everybody take a moment to go and play it. I'd never even heard of it before.
No.
So I really enjoyed it. It's a good little game, good little characterization, really fun little sprites. There's not a lot of detail, but you don't need that. This reminded me of a few of the games of this type that we played, but it's a much better variation of those. And I enjoyed what I played. So yeah, pretty good stuff.
Yeah, really good. I really enjoyed that. And that's a good opener to this episode of the Games That Zzap Forgot. So hopefully the rest of the games will stay just as good. Let's move on to our next one. Okay, next up in the Games That Zzap Forgot, we've got an odd one. This is an odd one. Graham, it's over to you to tell us all about being spaced out.
Yeah, it's a clever play on words, isn't it? It was $8.95 at the time, back in 1985. This came out.
Did it? Oof.
Published by CRL. Good old CRL. Oh, God help us. And the creator here is Jay Derritt. You might remember him from Life Force, Mandroid, Ninja Hamster, Room 10, and Thundercross.
I remember some of them.
You'll remember Ninja Hamster, and you certainly remember Mandroid, but go and check them out. The musician here, Graham Jarvis and Rob Hartzone. Rob Hartzone, more famous for wizardry. So if you're wondering what he's done.
Diddle.
Yeah, exactly. And you can sort of tell because it kind of sounds a bit like that, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It has a bit of a thing. So, Spaced Out then. The action takes place on a huge spaceship with animated backgrounds, and it has an unusual way of presenting the 3D. It's as though the ship has been chopped through in the middle, so that each room you enter is seen like a stage set. Walking off the front switches you to the other half of the room. There are null gravity lifts and room doors that slide up and down, but as most of the ship's workings have been badly affected by a space storm, their working is very erratic. The object is to get the ship and cargo safely to its destination on planet Niblondis, against all odds, which includes plenty of nasties as well as external influences. You can defend yourself from the attack of these aliens using your laser or tossing the food in the outer space, hoping the aliens will follow it. Through the various window ports, the stars can be seen in movement, which tells you which way you're going, as well as giving an indication of your orientation on the vessel. Further instructions are available in the game. So I don't know if they're the official ones or anything like that. The instructions that came with the actual cassette were a comic. Yeah. And it tells you the story of the game. Now, I'm not going to go through the comic, but I will say this, and I'm calling it out. That comic is, this whole game is meant to be a funny. It's meant to be a kind of a side-splitting funny joke. La, la, la. All right, I get that. And it's parts of it probably are. Maybe they're very of their time. However, there's a really offensive racial stereotype in that comic, which when I saw it, I was like, it was just disappointing. And even looking back now, obviously they're not acceptable and we would never dream of doing anything like now. but when you look back in your seat, you realise how naff it actually is anyway.
Yeah.
So calling it out for what it is, my advice is don't bother with the comic because you won't really need it anyway. And if you do see that offensive panel, you're not going to be very happy. It actually affected how I felt about the whole game because I thought that's not a kind of humour that I really appreciate, really.
Fair enough.
So I'm calling out for that. Now, the game itself then, you are cryo-frozen on a spaceship. This is another blurb from a different thing. Suddenly you are awakened because aliens called bogloids are attacking the vessel. The first thing you do is get your proton beam. This proton beam can be used to kill bogloids, but the other thing it is to repair the holes bogloids have created. Once the hole is repaired, your proton beam's power has been drained. This means you need to get a new proton beam to continue your mission. You have a total of 999 seconds to fix the ship and kill the invaders. If a bogloid touches you, you die, and the next astronaut in the cryophaser is awakened. As there are 3 of you, that equates to 3 lives. If all lives are lost or the time runs out, then the ship will proceed to planet Niblondis. It was set for an automatic pilot, and the bogloids will eat the entire population.
Oof.
Which feels slightly different to the story that's on the thing. And then there's another story as well. So when the game starts, you get an okay sort of loading screen, spaced out sort of logo at the top and kind of a green bogloidy thing in the middle. It's an old thing. When you get to this game starts, you get this really weird spaced out sort of text effect at the top. It's for what it is. It's okay, I suppose. And then there's another blurb on this, which appears really slowly.
Yes.
And you can't actually progress with, and you progress with F7. Who chooses that to progress? Why is it spacebar or anything? Anyway, it says, this is the mission of the USS Omnibus to transport a cargo of food supplies to the hungry workers on the planet Niblondis, 500 light years away from Earth, but less than 200 light years from their destination that are asteroids. Can Lieutenant Commander Sock, Major Underpants, and Colonel Skvidibod save the day? Who cares? It's really weird.
It's very odd. It's a very odd game.
Then you press F7 and then you can sort of choose to start the game. Now, when the game starts, your UI as such as is at the bottom, which has your score, the time countdown, the number of your players you have remaining, and the number of bogloids I think you've killed, or the number of proton packs you've got. I'm not 100% sure. Nothing is really explained about what the game plays like. No. You're just kind of given a vague idea in 3 different ways of what you're meant to be doing. And even the comic book doesn't really tell you what you're meant to do. It kind of tells you what's led to where you are.
Yes.
So the main window itself then, so UI is the bottom, fairly rudimentary, and then above that's the main game window, which is kind of a garish coloured, confusing array of rooms and difficult to see switches. You're a kind of a tiny sprite. The graphics are of their time. You go through doors and things like that. You move the little sprite around in kind of a sort of 3D way. And it has that really weird front and back thing. So when you look at a room, it is like imagining it on a stage. So if you walk to the front of the stage, the room flips around, does a full 180, and you're then looking at the other side of the room, which is not a bad idea to do it that way because it kind of doubles doubles the entire space that you're in, which is quite interesting. But you can inadvertently flip between those, and it can get really confusing about where the hell you are.
It can, yes. Yeah, very much.
And so. I imagine that just pisses mappers off massively. It's like double mapping. Every room's got to be double mapped. What a nightmare.
Mapper's delight.
No, it's not. I imagine it's like, every room you go into has got 2 views. That's an headache, isn't it?
Yeah.
So not only have you got to navigate this forward and backward thing, when the bogloids come into the space as well, it also gets confusing because they're kind of floating around. The idea is that you wander around this entire map sort of trying to find stuff and find the proton packs and do all of these things. I don't know about these stars in the windows help you see the direction. I'm not even sure what the purpose of that statement means, really. So that's kind of how the game unfolds. So it's a kind of walk and seek type game, really. Kind of an arcade adventure of sorts.
Yeah, kind of.
In a kind of mold that a lot of these kind of games were. So you're walking around this environment looking for things, and then you've got to activate certain things when you find them. But it's not clear what they are, where they are, what you've got to activate, how many of them you've got to activate, what the purpose of the bogloids is. Do you need to kill them all? Why do you need to keep recharging your stupid proton pack thing? The proton things seem really difficult to find, nor is it an indication of what they are, where you are, or anything else. What this game needed was a map on the screen somewhere.
It needed clear
or something
instructions.
Like that. Yeah, or instructions that so you go, you need to do this, and then this, and then this, and then this within this time. It doesn't give you that. No. So the game unfolds in that kind of manner. The graphics are really odd. They've got a look of character graphics about them, and they exist in a weird perspective all of their own. Your sprite is small, and even though he moves around okay and you encounter many things, the game manages to feel somewhat empty. And I think that's to do with the color schemes, which are a bit weird. It's all I think it's all built with character graphics and fonts.
Oh, massively, yeah.
So you're just kind of wandering around the text graphics, really. You do have that flame thing, like I said, but I couldn't find this. I had it, used it, and I couldn't find another charge for it properly.
No.
And I couldn't find any holes to fix. And I thought, is that what I'm meant to be doing?
I found holes to fix, then I got instantly killed.
Yeah, and I was say you took words around my mouth, and then I was dead before I knew it. I'm like, and then I was back to the cryopod thing. My chief complaint with all of this is maybe this appeals to a certain people, I don't know, a certain player for this kind of thing. I mean, and goodness knows, this is such a tried and tested game type, isn't it? I mean, even back as 1985, there's loads of these wandering around finding stuff type games, or wander around, fix the thing, wander around, pick up and there's loads of games built on that. Loads and loads and loads of them. They're not really my cup of tea at this point. This is one for really keen mappers who aren't going to get too mad at that double view. Maybe adventure players would like it because there's exploration involved. In 1985, there might not have been much of that. It might be quite nice to have a game. And a lot of games came out where you had to find your way around big mazes of stuff. I think it's meant to be funny and quirky. None of that humor came across to me at all. Very dated. The only character in it that made me laugh is the guy called Tor, is the Swedish character called Tor Nunderpants, which made me laugh. But everything else is pretty stupid. It is very juvenile humour at best. And I guess, and maybe that'll make you laugh, but it didn't really work for me. I don't know. It's got to be more to this than just funny names and a few silly gags and stuff like that. And they put who cares on that instructions on the sheet, and I have to agree with them. Maybe this would side splitting back in 1985. I don't know. For a game from 1985, it's probably not that bad in the sense that it's of 1985. So they're using techniques that they had around the time at 1985, and there is quite a big game to explore. But we've also had, I think, 1 year before this, Mission Impossible. Yeah. So that makes this kind of explore the environment type game look a bit stupid. I don't know. The music's okay. It's the guy that did Wizardry doing another variation of Wizardry, it sounded like to me, just in a different order. Maybe this would appeal to people at the time. I don't know. It would have been probably a bit more unique, but I don't know. It's just, for me, it's another boring exploring game. And there's loads of them. Loads of Yes Odd and all them. There's just loads of games where there's loads of environment to explore, and you wander around and there's find a hole, do the thing. And it's just like, I just had enough of it. I've had enough of these kind of games, and I know we're looking back and these are the games that Zzap forgot, and I'm glad I hadn't seen it, and I wish I'd forgotten about it, because it just reminds me that there was, yes, in 1985, there was some original ideas, but it wasn't, this is post all of them amazing Activision games, and Ghostbusters has been around at this point, and Mission Impossible, and there was Boulder Dash, and all those games where you've got amazing stuff going on, and then there's this, and you're like, well, what? I don't know. And it just seems to be that what it seemed to me was the template and model for loads of these games to come. And it just made me think that even back in 1985, they were still looking at this kind of wandering around and seek as a game design. And it's like, no, you need to do more in it than that. It can't just be that thing, and trying to add humor to it doesn't work. And they just continually from 1985 produce game after game, CRLs particularly, game after game after game that wasn't very good. And this is just an early example of a CRL game that isn't very good. So that's my thought on it. What about you?
I played this back in the day. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, because I think I had a copy of this. So I had this game with none of those instructions, and I didn't actually read any instructions in that comic and stuff before I went and played it again for this. So just caveat that with this. But it's a weird game. It's weird back then, and it's weird now. It's a strange game, probably because of the way it's built. Like you said, it's got that kind of half and half view and play, which I don't think I've ever seen before. I don't think any other game I've played has these half rooms. It's got a really weird atmosphere to it. The music's odd. It's got an odd look. Like I said, it's all built of characters. It just looks weird. It's not exactly a pleasure to play. But there's a weird atmosphere to it. It's like unlike many other games. I've never had any idea what exactly I'm supposed to be doing. I still don't. I think because I played it back then, and there's something about the music. It's got some weird sort of odd nostalgic charm to me about it. It was like I was playing it. I was like, I remember this. The enemies are weird. Because the way they like the way you float. Did you go floating across the vacuum of space when you go across the tunnel? Yeah. There's little touches in it like that, but the utter opaque nature of what you have to do, just like it's like what am I doing? I can't say it's very good, but I can say it does feel different and kind of original in a weird sense. I think they were kind of aiming for something in a Douglas Adams style.
Right, yeah.
I think that's kind of what I think they were kind of aiming for. We've got the cover's got like that eyeball looking at the planet, and it says Earth 550,000 kilometers that way, and this kind of like that kind of juvenile,
Douglas Adams style.
Yeah, but they don't quite land it because they're not Douglas Adams.
No.
I think the main sprite's quite funny. You got Dayglow spacesuits, and it's quite, I don't know, a strange game, this. And I wanted to have a look at it again because I do remember playing it. I thought, well, I was weird that Zzap never reviewed it because it was out around the time. Seen VG Commodore user, your Commodore, all reviewed it around March, April 1986. So it would have been in Zap's remit to have a look at it. Maybe it never got sent to them. Yeah, it's a shame about that comic. I mean, I'd like I said, I had never seen that before. So that's... Yeah.
It's best left where it was.
Yeah, best left where it was. But the game itself is an oddity because I don't think there's any other game that, walk and seek and walk and think, but the way it presents itself and the way it looks and the way it feels is an oddness. What I will say, though, if you take this, which is wandering around in a spaceship with aliens trying to do something, and you look at Force 7, which is similar in concept.
Yeah.
Going places, walking around, and look how sort of things developed in a year or two later, and like how that kind of same idea was done a lot better in Force 7. Yeah. Similar, you've got a squad, you've got a thing, there's three of you, you're kind of aliens and trying to similar sort of thing, but this is one way of doing it from 1985, and by 1987 we'd had a sort of movement in game design and stuff, and you can kind of see that's kind of interesting. But there you go, that's spaced out. An odd one, very odd one.
Very
odd. Let's move on to our next one. Okay, and our next game up, this is Starball. Starball. What is Starball, Graham? What is Starball? This is Starball. That's Starball with a space between star and ball. Not to be confused with Spaceball by Rainbow Arch, which was also known as Starball, with no space in the middle, that we looked at back in episode 119. And nor is it to be confused with Starball, with a space in the middle, that was released in 1983, which is a first-person racquetball game that looks suspiciously like that Room 10 drivel we looked at way back in episode 37. I also found another game called Starball, which was a crap pinball game.
Oh dear.
None of that's this one. This is Starball. Got it? Good. Got it? Yeah, good. There's more. Because when looking for this game to play, I found two versions of it with different music. So which version of Starball made it to release? I think I could tell, but I don't know. Anyway, this is Starball, released supposedly by Softtech and also by the Micro Selection in 1988. This was budget, £1.99. I think that's possibly where the two versions come from. I think maybe that first one was probably going to be Softtech, but then it probably didn't happen. They tidied it up and got someone else into the music, and it got released by the Micro Selection. Don't know, because one of those is more fully featured. I'm wondering if it's an old demo version stuck out with some music. I think the music on the one version is Rob Hubbard. It sounds Hubbardish.
Yeah, it did sound it.
I couldn't find anything in it. I looked through Hubbard's music, and I couldn't find anything, but it sounded like it.
It did sound like Hubbard.
Yeah, the official release by the Micro Selection has your Haroon Tell doing music. Anyway, whatever Starball is, whatever its history is, this is Starball. It's a Breakout clone. So after all that, it's a Breakout clone. It was developed by Reptilia Design, so you may also know as Ian and Mick. The coder here was Michael Jones. So the visuals also by Michael Jones and Robert Whittaker. I don't think Mick had much to do with this one. Oh, sorry, Ian didn't have much to do with this one. And the music is by Haroon Tell. Okay, that's in the proper version. So in the proper version, the game starts with a nice scrolling intro telling us the controls before the game starts. It's got like telling us what to do and everything. And it's got a fairly basic title screen. It's got a sort of logo at the top and some credits. And it says press 5 to start. And it's got a nice piece of music, though, by Mr. Tell. It's all right, the music here. It's quite good. Pressing fire starts the game, and we begin our trek through the 50 screens of Breakout, or more correctly, I should say probably Arkanoid. This is more Arkanoid inspired than Breakout, because it follows more the format of Arkanoid than Breakout. It's got all the extras that Arkanoid brought to it. So your bat is at the bottom of the screen, blocks the destroyer above you. Okay, it's Breakout. The UI on the right has the name of the game, your score, the present level, the name of the game again, It's like, why put it twice? And your remaining lives at the bottom. You control the bat with left and right and fire the ball off to start with the fire button. It's breakout. As the ball starts bouncing around, aliens appear, Arkanoid style, and crack out, and all those other kind of ones, what we've seen, and float about, and the ball can hit them and destroy them for extra points, bounce off them, and that sort of thing. I've no idea if there's any kind of story to this. I could only find a front cover. I very much doubt it. I think it's a budget breakout clone. As play progresses, icons will fall down, and you can collect these for power-ups and power-downs, and also collect arrows, which skip you ahead levels. The power-ups or downs that you can collect include the following: skip level, slow bat, slows you down, I guess, fast bat, which speeds you up, big bat, which makes you bigger, extra bat, gives you an extra life, small bat, which shrinks your bat if it was a big bat, a breaker, I'm not quite sure what the breaker does, and finally laser cannons. Okay, so it's Arkanoid only. It's £2 Arkanoid, so it's not as good. I guess for a budget version, it could be okay. Problem is, though, it's got some serious control and collision issues, and another one as well, which I'll mention in a moment, which is the ball. It's twitchy, that ball, isn't it? That ball is twitchy, and it speeds up and slows down all over the place, just at will. You never know what it'll hit something and brown, and it'll just it'll sometimes speed up to stupid speed. It'll leave you. You'll hit it up. It'll hit a brick and go pang down it, and you're like, "Why has that happened?" You've no chance to return it. None. On top of this, the collisions with the edge of the bat, not always reliable. Quite often, I would be having my place in the bat just to sort of hit it back at an angle, and it would just go past me, and the bat would explode. And I was pretty sure I should have hit it. So I think the collision detection is a bit off as well, which is never great on a breakout game. You need to be able to rely on those kind of things. Speed of the ball and the size of the bat. It's kind of two things that are integral to a breakout game, really.
Yeah.
If you don't get them right, you're in trouble. The laser guns are interesting, though, because they introduce 2 lasers on either side of the playing field, which you can then move up and down and press fire to shoot lasers to destroy bricks. That's actually quite an interesting idea. Trying to do this, though, and return the ball, which speeds up and slows down all over the place, is almost impossible, because you'll try and shoot something and invariably miss the ball and die, and then the lasers will disappear. So it's like, So none of this really ties together very well. It's budget breakout, it's budget Arkanoid, and that's probably about it. The visuals, well, they're okay, I guess. There's a scrolling star field in the background. The various icons and stuff are decently drawn. The bricks are right, the bat's okay. There's no slowdown that I really noticed. Mr. Tell's music is pleasing enough to listen to as it's playing, but on the whole, this is not as good as the conversion of Arkanoid, really. The conversion of Arkanoid surpasses this in every way, and the controls and speed of the ball is just too unreliable to enable you to really enjoy the game. In 1988, for £2, it's still a hard sell. I can see why this didn't break out into more sales, if you'll pardon that pun. But this star ball, it's not much star about it. It's just, I don't know, it's a weird thing in it. It's got an odd title screen as well. The odd loading screen with some sort of guy flying through the stars at you. It's a particularly weird game, this is, with lots of weirdness. And it's just not a particularly good version of Breakout. There are much better versions of Breakout on the machine. So star ball is not for me, I'm afraid. What did you think?
Saying, go and play Arkanoid or Arkanoid 2 or any of the other games. They're all better than this Breakout games. This is pretty rudimentary Breakout. I mean, even Crackout was better than this, and that's saying something.
Yeah.
It didn't play very well. It was a bit uninteresting. It's just another boring Breakout game. There's some little innovations, attempts in some of the way the levels work later on, if you can be bothered to get that far. But ultimately, you're playing something that's been outgunned, outplayed, and outdone years ago, even at budget price. Okay, budget, but Arkanoid will be out on budget by now for less money, or probably $1.99, I'd have thought. Certainly Arkanoid 2. They're both better than this, as are many of the other games. So the only good thing about that game was the music. The rest of it was forgettable. So I didn't really entertain it for that long. It was no more entertaining than 5 minutes of entertainment, and I was like, no, this is pretty rubbish. So I didn't really like it.
No, it wasn't very good. There we go. Sometimes you wander off into the desert and you don't find good stuff. You just don't know until you've had a look at these things.
This is it.
So hopefully our next one might be something decent, but I'm not quite sure. Let's move on to our last game from the games that Zzap forgot for this week. Graham, it's over to you to tell us all about what it's like to be a Subway Vigilante.
Subway Vigilante. Well, you know what? The funny thing is, so this is the same people that made that Breakout game, isn't it? This is designed by Mike Jones, coded by WoW Software. The graphics are Robert Whittaker. This is they did Street Code Boxing. It's the same people. And And this is under Players Premier. So get this, it's a whole £3, £2.99. This is primarily a game based around another game, which we won't see for a while, but a game called Fallen Angel, which I think is an arcade. So it's meant to be like a side-scrolling beat-em-up.
It's meant to be.
Yeah, it's not, though. What this game is odd. So a guy, I guess the idea of the game is you've got to get through the various underground levels and beat people up, and I think there's not much more to it than that. And I couldn't find any real good description of what really there was to do. So the game starts with a crap title screen.
You can't call that crap. That's quality.
Subway Vigilante writing and then sort of a really weird black and white version of their own logo. Why didn't they do that in colour? We may never know the answer to that.
I don't know. And then there's some metal band underneath it.
Yeah, it's just weird. And then the game starts. Now, the game is really odd. The game screen is split into two for this. The top part of the screen is the game fighting window. So think sideways scrolling beat 'em up like Kung Fu Master, but not anywhere not even in the same league as that. Yeah. And then at the bottom, you've got a flip book graphic. On the left-hand side, there's an angry face and your score, and then some kind of color bar chart, which I think is your energy, maybe. Then you've got like a directional compass, which is how you control how you get onto the tubes and which direction you want to go on the tube trains, which is bizarre in itself that I'm even saying those words. Then there's some kind of tube map on the right-hand side. So you've got, and then your tube destination, so Piccadilly Circus to South Kensington. It's just so very colloquial and London town. And then at the bottom, you've got like an image of the player from the top half, so the top half of his 2 sprite size, and then the word Premier in the middle in kind of a block. And then the game window itself is at the top. Now, at the top of that, there's basically this game is you traverse the tube lines of the underground looking for people to beat up. That's as much as I could ascertain from it. The game started, and the game doesn't start with you fighting. You just have to get on a tube train. It's like, I was waiting for a tube. I was like, what am I playing here? It just started and a tube rolled in, and the graphics on the way it moves and that are actually okay. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But the tube train rolls in the station in the background. I'm stood on the platform. I get on the tube. I then say where I want to go. And then the tube went off with me in it. And then I went to the next station. I got out there. And the instance that I played this, I got out and there's nobody there. So nope. I waited for the next tube and then got on that. I'm assuming then I think I was going at this point to Edgware, or I can't remember where I was going. It might have been, Elephant and Castle. I don't know where I was going.
Who knows?
When I got out at this point, there was some enemies there. Now, the sprite you are is a 2 sprite high guy. We know these guys love their yellow, don't they? And their bold colours. He's wearing a yellow tank top and pink trousers. And let me tell you, if you wear yellow trainers, if you're on the London Underground wearing that, you're going to get beaten up.
It would have done in 1990 or 1989.
Especially in 1990. Anyway, so I think I would say you for some reason, I just got the vibe that he was Brazilian, like a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy. But anyway, so yeah. I then got attacked by people that looked exactly like me. And that's when I tried my fighting moves. Now, my fighting moves are, all 2 of them, are rapid tiny punch. So a mini punch and a mini knee. So it's like knee and like little punch. It's not like he punches and sticks his arm out. It's like a 3 pixels from where he stood with his fists. Because the way you're stood, your sort of rest pose is stood with both fists facing forward, like you do, like people just stand with fists out. And then so when you fight people, it's like da 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 da, and you sort of move left and right, and they'll punch you, and you can't really avoid them hitting you. And you just end up punching them and kneeing them. And a knee is, if you try punching your way out of this game, you'll die. They'll just beat you up. So you've got to knee your way out of every situation. So really what this game is traversing the London Underground looking for people to knee, which seems really niche gameplay. I mean, that's weird. And there's not any more to it. I'd love to say that there was a great story arc, that there's loads of complexity, and it's just that there isn't. And that's really all there is. You go around the underground, choosing your stations, getting on tube trains. Sometimes there's people there, sometimes there isn't. And then when you get off, you just knee people.
Yep.
I never encountered a boss. I never encountered much variety in the enemies I was fighting. They all managed to hit me all the time, and I managed to get less hits on them, and eventually that wore me down. I was just going around kneeing people. I was the mad underground knee guy, the near of old London town. And that was the game. This is based on like I said, on the game. If you take a moment to look at a game called Fallen Angel, which comes out, I think, in 1992 on the C64. But I'm guessing that's based on an arcade.
I think it came out in 89, but Zapped didn't look at it, I think, until we get a budget re-release.
Well, we won't look at it till it comes out way later on. But there's a game called Fallen, and it's basically that. It looks exactly like that. And that looks to me like it's... no, I don't know if that may be an Amiga game that's can be converted from Amiga to C64. But in that game, it's a side-scrolling game where you're beating people up on the tube, underground stations and things. It looks arguably similar. And it's not dissimilar to the underground train sequence in Final Fight. If you think about it, there is a trend of having a level... Even Narc had a level where you were beating people up on kind of an underground base and things. So this idea of there being this is not unknown to games, but done like this, I think they just somebody needed to say to them, right, you need a bit more than that. So what else is there? And it's like, this is at super kid levels of flippancy. Like, what else does he do? Well, he punches. What about else? Knees? Anything else? No.
Knees.
Where's he going? I don't know. He just goes around the tubes looking for people to knee. Okay, and is there any more to it? No, that's it. That's all we got, really. It's only £2, £3, isn't it? But you say it's Premiere. Oh, the graphics are good. It's got good sound. The sound, by the way, I think, did I say it was Johan Biergaard? So the sound is actually pretty good. So orally, you're going to be entertained. Visually, not so much. And gameplay-wise, not at all. And eventually, you'll just go around getting attacked by the punks of the underground, and you'll either knee them to death, or they will punch or stab you to death or shoot you. Either way, that's the game. I don't know. I thought the best thing about it was the sound, which is exactly what I thought about their previous game, because it's maniacs and noise, really.
Yeah.
And this is obviously inspired by, there was a gang of, in New York, they did have an underground violence problem, and they had a sort of vigilante group called the Angels, I think, didn't they?
Oh,
not Tube Angels or something, but they did have an underground group that would, they wore these kind of red berets, and they would patrol the underground of New York and just try and thwart violence, and because they had a bit of a crime spree down there at one point. I don't know fully what they were called. Guardian Angels. So I think it's loosely based around something to do that.
Yeah.
Although, on the front cover of the box, you are a guardian angel with a white t-shirt and a red beret on. In the game, though, you are wearing a yellow tank top and pink trousers. So quite what happened there, I don't know. Something went wrong, didn't they? An attempt at a beat-up game, but without any beating up, and really all you're doing is kind of travelling on the tube, which is pretty bleak. I mean, even Roland Rat did that better than this, and that was years ago, so that was it. There's nothing to say about this game. There's nothing to it. It's rubbish. The only good thing is the music. What about you?
I honestly thought when I saw this, and I thought, well, picking these games for this episode, and I looked at the screenshots, and I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be some kind of budget belt scroller action game, because that's what it looked like. But boy, was I wrong. Very wrong. You spend most of the time getting on and off tube trains and waiting around on empty stations and meandering about with nothing to do whilst you're there. I was like, I don't know. I played this for about 10 minutes, getting on and off trains. I never saw anyone. Most deserted. It was like that ending to it's like the bit of the guy gets off the tube in American Werewolf.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is the tube stations at night. Yeah, that.
So never saw anyone. Maybe that made me a good vigilante because there was no crime going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was also no game going on.
That really wasn't.
Oh, I did go and watch someone play this on YouTube. They had gun-toting, fire-breathing enemies to face. I don't know if did you come across them?
No, I did not.
Yeah, but none of that happened when I played it. No. I think they managed to get to a different tube stop. I found navigating the tube really confusing as well, because I pushed up and I went down. I went left and it went right. It's like, what? Who designed this?
Yeah, and the tube doesn't work that way either. The map doesn't go top to bottom, left to right. It's just a long line, like a train line, one might say, from A to B with stops on the way. Yeah,
I don't know what this was. Was it a game? I don't think this was a game. I think if you'd have bought this, there's no game here. There's like you said, there's a mini knee and a mini punch, and every now and again you might find some characters to have a bit of a scrap with, but what was this? I was like, I wish I'd picked a better game, but you never know. These kind of games are weird, and we give these games the light in the sun, and unfortunately, this shriveled up because it was so flimsy.
It was very.
£3 for this, you'd have been like, oh.
I mean, the graphics and the way the train moves was pretty good. It's a pity they didn't make more of that, really. They've clearly got a bit of talent when it comes to the code. So,
and they're demo makers.
Well, they did do demos, but
yeah. I think that shows in the fact that they can move visuals around and things like that, but then they forget that there's supposed to be a game in there somewhere.
I love those two sprites just stuck at the bottom for no reason as well. They're not even wearing the same colour outfit you wear. Maybe they mean something. Maybe you have to knock them out or something.
This game makes no sense. And that loading screen as well with the heavy metal band.
So stupid.
So what
was
this?
All that about? That loading screen was ridiculous. And I thought, okay, maybe it's from the Spectrum. That's what I thought. But what?
I don't know.
I don't know, because it's clearly, again, borrowing from sort of a film look and feel. There's very much a Cobra-y vibe about that, very much a Stallone, Rambo-y type vibe about that character, but not so much on the one on the right and the left. And certainly one on the left looks like bloody Frankenstein, so I'm not sure what that's all about. I know it's just the way God made him, but...
but he is what he is. What a game. What a very, very strange, weird thing. But it's not even a game. No, there's nothing to it.
There's no game there.
There's nothing.
Nope.
Anyway, there you go. That's Subway Vigilante. One of the thinnest slices of gameplay I've ever experienced. I didn't find a game. It just went around in a tube.
It made Super Kid look like it was well thought out.
It made Super Kid look like bloody Grand Theft Auto. Really or Cyberpunk or something. Anyway, there we go. That's it. 4 games. Though I mean, the best one of that lot was that 4-7, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which was actually really good. This made Spaced Out look like epic.
Bloody Spaced Out. It really did. It's like the bit from Street Cred Boxing. It's the same problem that game had.
Yes, true.
This is the Street Cred bit that was missing from Street Cred Boxing.
Yeah. Just what a strange
put them all into one game.
You might have something.
Yeah.
A lot of rubbish. There we go. That's it. So we looked at 4-7, we looked at Spaced Out, we looked at Star Ball, and we looked at Subway Vigilante. Another sojourn off the beaten track.
Yeah, the games that Zzap are glad they forgot, yeah.
Yeah, apart from 4-7, I think they would have liked that.
Yeah,
I think that
4-7 was all right, yeah.
I think that would have got a good write-up, I think. I think that's actually a bit of a hidden gem, that one, and I'm glad I found that
maybe,
one.
Yeah.
I think that's well, if you've got to take one thing from this podcast, it's go play 4-7.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something to play over Christmas and you haven't played a C64 game you fancy to, then go play 4-7. It's really good. I think that's it. So we are going to be on a break now for a couple of weeks because it's Christmas and New Year.
It is.
And it's time to recharge our batteries before we come back. When we come back in the new year, we'll be starting March 1991.
We will.
One thing we did forget from last week's episode, which we'll just quickly do now, we forgot to mention the budget re-releases that came out in February, or I did.
All right, okay.
We'll just quickly run through them. It's always nice to see what came out and give them a thing, so we'll just give them a mention. So February 1991, these games were reviewed in Zzap, but obviously we'd looked at them before. There was Double Dragon for £3. That's not worth £3, is it? It's not worth anything. No. Caveman Olympics. That's not bad for £3.
Right. For £3, it's all right, yeah.
That's pretty good. Vec Le Mans.
It's not worth 1p.
The Games Winter Edition.
That's not bad for £3.
Yeah, you might get some fun out of that. Ace and Ace 2 for £3.
That's good for £3, that is.
That's good, but and finally Gemini Wings.
It was all right. For £3, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Rock out.
Ace and probably Ace 2 they're
the winners there.
The standout there for £3. That's not a bad little thing there. So that's it. Have you got any kind of message or anything for our listeners as we head off for Christmas, Graham?
No, just have yourselves a lovely Christmas. I'm sure we'll surprise you with stuff. Who knows what we'll do. But have a nice Christmas. Go and play some games because we didn't have to. So go and play some games that you don't have to. Go and play Turrican 2.
What? Go and play some games
2.
that you didn't have to.
Yeah. Go and give something a try that you didn't think you'd want to play.
True. 4-7. Go play 4-7 or Turrican 2. Yeah, go play that.
Don't give them a go. Don't play bloody Shadow of the Beast. You'll be bored in 2 minutes. Go and play Turrican 2. It's way more exciting.
Yeah, fair enough. So I'll just echo that. Have a very, very nice Christmas. Have a very, very good New Year. Have a very good, whatever holiday you are celebrating, if it's not Christmas, whatever it is. Have a good break. Take some time. Be good. Have fun. Be merry. And hopefully we will see you again in the new year. But we'll start again March. We'll get going March 1991. I'm looking forward to that. Last Ninja 3, I've never played it. Could be interesting.
You never will.
Oh, but it can't be. I still want to play the Lost Ninja.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll get to that. So as ever, I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past, play the games that Zzap forgot. Have a very, very lovely Christmas. Have a great New Year. Enjoy your holidays, whatever it is you're doing. We'll see you again next year. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zap to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zap to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zaptothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zaptothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zap to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zap to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings, and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zap to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.